Hello. No. What? Fuck. Should be. Oh. There it is. There's sound. Why isn't it coming in there? I need to know that. Okay. Sounds way too loud. This is what we're gonna have to do this month. I don't know what to tell you. The mic is it's over. It costs over $100, giving me so much grief. So much grief, that freaking thing. Whatever. We got the webcam. That's important too. This is what I'm using right now. I think it's what I'm using. Can you tell the difference? Whatever. We got the webcam. That's important too. This is what I'm using right now. I think it's what I'm using. Tell the difference. Testing. 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 I can't tell the difference, but it sounds clear, so that's good. Maybe a little loud, but clear. Okay, this is it. This is the stream. Nothing will stop us from talking about Zatch Bell 2 this month. Nothing, goddamn. So we're here. We're talking about Zatch Bell. As far as I know, y'all can hear me. Unfortunately, YouTube isn't actually telling me. And the stream is pretty delayed. We're here. We're talking about Zatch Bell. So I have to wait to check. If my volume goes out again, someone please let me know. That's all I gotta say. Let's continue with the chapter. I wish I knew. That mic worked. It worked well for a while. If I had to guess, it seemed like the issue was related to this, my USB multi thingy. But then the mic has never worked when it's just plugged into my computer. The mic would actually only work when it was plugged into this, which was then plugged into the computer. So I don't know. It's always been giving me issues. Now no different. So I'll keep the first part up. There's no reason I shouldn't. To see what I say about the first page of the chapter, just watch that video. Second page of the chapter. Folgore sees in the audience. Well, it looks like a baby, but also just like Contrame. And it was really funny to see the Discord reaction of a lot of people while this was being scanned, because I don't know how long it takes to translate each page, because I've never observed the process of that so much. There was one time when I caved and read part of the chapter before it was done, but when I got up to where that stopped, the amount of pages that were scanned, I just stopped reading it until it was finished. So I still don't know like exactly how long it takes from page to page. But people in the Discord were like, this is Contrame. They were like, someone was like, I was right. He didn't grow at all. So it's kind of funny to think. Folgore does think it's Contrame. Folgore starts tearing up, and he lunges, dives into the audience. Does not get caught by anybody, because this is a sit-down audience. This is not a stage dive and a crowd surf. He smashes into the seat, gets injured at least a little bit. He's very excited to see Contrame again. But then this Contrame says, wow, you're really cool, just like my big brother told me. And we learn that this is Consomé's little brother, Consommé, which is really funny because I had always wondered if Consommé was named after the food, which is a soup, consommé. I'd always wondered that. There was never really any evidence because Consommé likes candy. He doesn't like soup or food in general. But now it's essentially confirmed that I either Raikou came up with it after the fact and named Consommé's brother Consommé, or the connection was always there, and Raikou just decided to go full on with it. So a little focus issue here. There we go. I think just even out. So Consommé is here. And already we see this real display of emotion from Fulgore. And this is something I'm going to get to later in the chapter. Just talk about how kind of blatantly emotional this chapter is, even compared to the other ones. We're going to get to that. So Consommé says he really likes donuts. So Fulgore takes him and gets a whole bunch of donuts. And he ignores the Bambinas in favor of just talking with Consommé. And he has an assistant, kind of a cool lady, who we see during this scene. And right now, Consommé tells Fulgore, when Fulgore asks him where his brother is, he said, oh yeah, Consommé got distracted by candy, by all-you-can-eat candy somewhere. And Fulgore goes, what? Consommé says, but he said they didn't have any donuts, so I went looking for you instead. Fulgore says, oh, you really went straight for the candy, or coming to see me? You're really going to tease me like that, Consommé? And we see Consommé running, presumably looking for candy. Then we got this conversation with Kyo and Zatch in the airport, which is kind of funny, just to like have this scene of them in an airport. Olmo is looking over the couch, which is like something that you've probably all seen kids do, just people watching. And I noticed you showed that you made a little edit to the food and coffee stand to spell coffee in English correctly. It's kind of funny. Raise when you hear Zatchable Gamer. Sound check here. Yep, we're still working. Okay. And Zatch is sipping on a cup, which is just an image that I like a lot. He was actually on a laptop, and we just noticed. Zatch is just sipping a drink. And this reminds me of Stephen King's The Dark Tower series, which has some really funny stuff where the main character is a guy from a different world. It's kind of like ours, but it's a little more medieval. It's like a mix between medieval and like there's ancient future technology, but the peak of current technology is like 1800 stuff. And he travels to the human world, and even though he's like this really gruff guy who's like in his like early 60s, he finds that he really loves soda and tuna sandwiches. And that was a very funny moment in that. And I'm sure there was some stuff, some human world food and drinks that Zatch liked a lot. We know he liked Kyo's mom's omelets. But just him holding this cup with both hands and drinking from it, kind of staring off into space, just reminded me of that. So he says, Consommé looks interesting. And we learn that Consommé is apparently quite tall. And we see a picture of him on the next page. In full glory, Consommé, he's now very tall. It's a really funny design and just very good. He has sort of the same face. I think it's maybe a little thinner. I'm not really sure. His hair might be a little bigger too, but it's sort of the same face, similar to Zatch, very minor face changes. And he's just got this funny sort of just kind of a nerdy shirt with a bow tie and these sort of poofy pants with a little duck belt thing. And we see him with his whole family, including his dad, who we saw at the end of the first series, who looks exactly the same here. And what looks like his grandfather and his mom and Consommé. Yeah, it's not the same mic. It's an earbud mic. I just don't have the earbuds in. I have it tucked into my shirt. So sound quality is pretty good, though. So we see this picture of them together. It's cool to see the Momoto's families. You know, it's always cool to see that. And they all love sweets of different kinds. Kanchame's dad likes ice cream. Kanchame's mom likes cake. They kind of all seem to like lollipops, at least Kanchame's dad and Kanchame's granddad, who we don't know on what side the granddad is on. I would kind of guess the mom's side. It's a really funny way to introduce him. Fulgore thinks it's super funny. And Consomme is pretty mad at this. There's a couple great faces here. But Fulgore says, hey, you know, it's a shame we couldn't have a real reunion yet. We should have met in person, not through a photo, but I still can't wait to see you. So then we see that Kanchame is in a pretty bad state. He's beaten on the ground with these two new pursuers who we saw at the end of the last chapter, closing in. They've already beaten him up a little bit, clearly. He's running away. And the girl says, I can't imagine why you think you can still escape. And she summons Gozer, this beast who, for now, we only see their hand. Hey, Justin's game. Yeah, thank you guys for popping in again. Glad we got the stream working. So she summons Gozer using her hair, which is very Bayonetta. She summons monsters out of her hair. I don't really think that's so much of a reference. Hair powers have been in a lot of media. But it's a very cool arm that comes out. Very weird, just like, you know, giant arm extending out of her body and covers half of her face with the eye. We learn that Gozer is definitely sort of a separate creature from this girl. We don't know if she has other creatures like Pokemon Trainer. We don't know where they come from, if they all come from her hair, if she can take off her arm and turn it into a creature. We don't know. She definitely takes on some of the appearance of this creature, so she can sort of fuse with it, but she can also separate it from her, as we see later. And this seems different from Wake. So that's interesting. This is a different sort of villain here. Gozer is the name of the villain from the first Ghostbusters movie. This is something I mentioned on Discord. And when we see the full form of Gozer later, it's just sort of a large, beastly sort of dog type. And Gozer and Ghostbusters had sort of minions that were large beastly things that look kind of like dogs. So I definitely think it's sort of a reference. Yeah, the Consomme thing is really funny. People fell for it. I saw on the Discord. So that was pretty great. I was worried for a second. But I was like, that's a baby. Like, there's no way. So they're beating up Consomme. He opens a jar of his own spell power. I call them spell elements, but we don't really have an official name for them yet, which is his duck mouth is the symbol for that. And he uses Poruk. And the villain girl summons Gozer's head and gives a mighty roar. It's apparently very loud by this guy covering his ears running away. And that makes Conchame flinch as a pillar. And they discover him. They cast Baratsu at him. And at this point, you can zoom in and look at the spell jar, which I did. And you notice two symbols. The one on the left is sort of hard to see, but you notice one that is sort of a weird, like, fanged, mouthy thing, muscle with teeth on it, which I thought might even belong to the villain from the one-shot. I think his name is Jiza, I think. I didn't like him, but I thought that might have been his. We do see the Baratsu one, which is pretty clear, and that seems to come from Rogue Nose. It's got sort of a Rogue Nose design. Ziza, maybe it was what it was. Yeah, that's what I thought. And then you can see one that looked pretty clearly like Tia's. So that got me pretty excited. I was like, ooh, maybe we'll see Tia soon if we can see this, or at least see them use one of Tia's spells. So they cast Baratsu at him. They hit him. He starts running away more. And then we got a scene where this thing sort of come into focus. What's been going on this chapter? That Conchime did not get pursued or found by these two while he was being distracted by Candy. So Fulgore shows Conchime's room. There's a lot of toys and stuff. He's kept pretty much the way it was, which is nice. And at this point, Consume says, Big Brother said, you're going to live with Fulgore from now on. So at this point, if you're a reader, you may have sort of realized that there's something pretty special, I would say, going on here. And I don't know if I should talk about it now. So basically, let's talk about it now. Everyone during the last chapter, when Zatch said Conchime was the first to run away, everyone was like, oh my God, Conchime is a coward again. He ran away. Why did he do that? He's back to his old self. And even I thought that losing all his spells was a pretty good excuse. People were still sort of mad about it. They all owe him a big apology. I want to see video apologies to Conchime on Twitter, on YouTube. I want to see people at podiums. I want to see prepared statements. I want to see people reading from pieces of paper that they wrote beforehand. I want to see maybe donations in some form to some sort of candy-based charity as a way of apology. Because that's what Conchime deserves, because y'all underestimated him. Even I did a little bit. I mean, I was sort of confident that Raikou would do the right thing. Even I underestimated him a little bit. Yeah, donate to like the next exhibit fund. I don't know. So Conchime is doing something very brave and noble. He's sacrificing himself to save his brother. And as he runs away from the others and falls in these tram tracks, I think there maybe is a train. They describe it as a train. It looks like a train, but it's like it kind of goes across the street. So that's kind of more like a tram. And they catch up to him, and we see that Conchime's whole family pretty much seems to have gotten killed or captured or what have you by these enemies who, in this panel, we just see a bunch of encroaching darkness sort of coming towards them. And Conchime says, I ran pretty far. They won't be able to find Fulgore's house. If anything happens to me, at least Conchime will get to live happily with Fulgore. We see Conchime's mom giving his brother to him to protect. We see his dad giving him the spell jar. I'm not entirely sure how he got that. Not sure if that will be explained, but he wouldn't have a chance in hell without it. The girl's going to attack with Gozer. She jumps at him, and Conchime says, I kept Conchime safe. You took over my family, so I'm going to take you down. And then we see Conchime being a badass again this chapter by using like a pretty advanced application of Poruk, sort of similar to something he did in the Millennium Moto arc, where he turned into like the end of a hallway, where he made like a full-on like 3D mock 3D illusion, like those paintings you see like on. I mean, I've seen pictures of them. I've never actually seen one. In like city streets where people will like draw on the ground so it like looks like a pit. You know, it's like forced perspective. When we stand at a certain angle, it looks 3D, and that's what he made. And he made it like a cape flows out from his outfit to hide the oncoming train, which then bashes into the bad guys. Really hurts them pretty bad. This poor conductor, I don't know what he's thinking at this point. He hits a bear, then he hits a guy. I don't know if he sees the guy. I don't know if he's putting the train to a stop after that. I don't know what he's doing. He's probably pretty terrified of everything that's going on. but he made a whole illusion, which is a pretty advanced application of the regular Paruk spell. Is really cool and unexpected. A little crazy, a little silly, but hey, this is a crazy manga. So, going back to Kanchime is freaking awesome in this chapter. Like, it's really crazy how, I don't know if I want to get into it now or when the chapter is finished. I think I'll get into it when the chapter is finished. It's just like how, like, just a great portrayal of these two characters in specific, like this chapter is. And it's, I don't think anyone like quite expected this, even though this would be like the most basic thing to expect. Like, we've sort of been trained by this manga to like be a little on edge about things and like not really know what's going to happen. And like, it's been hard to say like when is Raikou going to take a little more time with something and when is he going to be very powerful and immediate. But I've said before that I think Raikou like really prioritizes like immediacy of feeling and just like a pretty fast pace. And this is another big example of that. But I'll get more into that at the end. So yeah, then they're both pretty injured. The human holds up a case, and as Justin's game says, it's pretty clear which spell he's going to cast at this point because they're both pretty beat up. And he casts Saifogio, one of the most iconic spells in the original series, the sword that heals. He puts it into his friend. We see a little top turning. She heals a little. Kanchime, is pretty distraught by this. He says that's Tia's spell. These guys, what have they done, basically? So she says, hey, nice work. It wasn't a great healing spell. How dare she say that? So then she decides to just let Gozer take care of it. She sort of breaks her braid off with her finger, says, I'll leave the rest to you, and she throws Gozer out. Gozer summons himself kind of completely. This huge dog. We don't really get to see what his full body looks like normally right now because the human, or the sorcerer, let's call him, he casts Doruk, which is Gofure's spell. So it makes sense. That was used on a dog. This is used on a dog-like creature. And it doesn't cover his whole body like it does with Gofure, but it covers a lot of his face and sort of strengthens his jaws, I think. So we learned that the weird fanged sort of muscly mouth thing in the jar. Oh, his face is actually really funny. I'm just noticing this in the top right panel. His face is actually like pretty funny. He has like a tear coming out of his eye. Do we learn this guy's name? I feel like maybe it's said somewhere, but maybe I just thought when I was first reading it that Gozer was him. So when he's using Doruk, we also get a good look at the spell element on the left, which is just a shining thing of light. And it's really hard to know whose ability that would be. I kind of almost think Clear, but then I feel like Clear's would be like kind of sparking coming out like that. But I think it's someone's ability. I just don't know who. It could even be Kid's ability or Kiddo's ability. But I'd be kind of surprised if that wasn't like a gear. That wasn't like a gear symbol. Yeah, Zophis would be a great option as well. I'm sure we'll get to see it used soon. So Doruk, Gozer attacks. Kanchime holds him off like a lion tamer, and he's being pushed down and enclosed by these jaws. And he says, this is for the best. I knew things would turn out this way. If I die here, they'll think it's all over. Kept Consomme hidden from them all this time. They have no idea he exists. So then we learn exactly what happened at the beginning of this. When he spotted them, he left Consomme in the concert hall, and ran out in front of them. So I'd be the one they went after. He somehow got Consomme to think that he was distracted by Candy. then all I had to do was run as far away from Fulgore's house as I could. So that was intentional, that he got far away from Fulgore's house so they would not find Consomme. Once again, Consomme being cool. It's not over yet. He said, Consomme, you'll be able to enjoy an incredible life with Fulgore. Yeah, you could say he looks like an ice cream man. I don't know if that would be intentional, but ice cream man do sometimes wear the bow ties and the white shirts. Yeah, that's probably a good point. I mean, his head has always been sort of ice creamy, right? Like his hairstyle has always been sort of ice creamy. Ice cream is never really his thing. I mean, Hige likes ice cream, as we've seen. It was never really Consomme's thing. But you might have a point there. So he says, hey, I've done my job. It's over. I saved my brother. I did what my family want me to. I was told that his new look resembles someone from One Piece. Really? I'm a big One Piece fan. Who do people say? Is there a guy who wears that shirt in One Piece? Is this on Discord? Oh, right. Mystic Code said he looked like Bon Clay. That's specifically the pants, though. They have the same kind of pants. He doesn't really look like Bon Clay, aka Mr. 2, other than the pants. But yeah, the pants are similar. So it's all over for Consomme, right? But then he has a thought of Score. And at this point, when I saw this page, I was like, is this shit about to get like incredible? Like, are things about to just pop the fuck off right now? I was like, when I click to the next page, am I about to see some shit that's like, it's gonna make me want to be annoying about Zatch Bell on Twitter, Zatch Bell 2 on Twitter, and like go in the comments of like other manga posts and go like, this is mid, Zatch Bell 2 is GOAT, or like, what do they say? What is the other things that they say? Like, Zatch Bell 2 clears this shit any day of the week. And yes, when you turn the page, we do indeed see some completely hype stuff where Consomme screams, no, I don't want to die. I give anything to see Fulgore again. He will keep fighting, keep going, no matter how scared they are or in how much pain I'm in, even when I'm filled with despair. And we get to see some really terrifying looking monsters, silly but terrifying, as Raiku's monsters often are. And this is the first time we really get the inkling that there's like a pretty big army of enemies. And some of them are freaking massive. You know, it's not just the monster that stole the spells. There's this big dude with one human-like head and one weird mouth thing and snakes for arms, who's destroying buildings in the demon world. It is a little Attack on Titan, isn't it? It kind of looks like an Attack on Titan city. There's even like a wall there. And that guy's pretty scary, so maybe we'll see him at some point. He says, even when I'm filled with despair, what gets me through it all is the hope I have getting to see Fulgore again. And he fights and he fights and he starts singing, of course, Iron Man Fulgore, Invincible Fulgore. But he's starting to get weakened and he can't hold it anymore. He's going to maybe pass out or something. His eyes are getting blurry. And he's still singing, but he's going to drop. And suddenly, like a dream, fabulous dream, we got this incredible 2-page spread. Really incredible. It just like, it's so well drawn and like the angle is great. It's such a cool, like, it's simple but effective. Fulgore is here. He's come. And this is another sort of twist that the chapter does, where you think in the chapter, does Fulgore like know, like, does he understand like what Consomme's plan was? He seems to react like, okay, like Consomme said he was going to stay with me forever, whatever. Earlier in the chapter, we see, yes, he does know Consomme well enough. He knows his friend well. He knows what he's done, and he dashes out to find him and save him. which he does, shouting and or singing, depending on what you want to think, Invincible Fulgore. And he grips the jaws of the monster like just a real strong man. His muscles like bulging, his intense look on his face. Conchime doesn't seem to notice at first in the spread. But then he does. Fulgore says, "Same here. You have no idea how much I missed you too, Conchime." Conchime can't believe it. Can't believe Fulgore's here. And Fulgore's muscles, they bulge so much that they rip through his shirt, which is something that happened in the Shin Haruk conflict, where Conchime and Fulgore were at odds with each other. And Fulgore gave a speech that he will soon reference. Yeah, Master Roshi, like Master Roshi's max power form. So Fulgore did this where he bulked up a ton. And I always thought that this was like, which I really liked, the sort of, you could describe it as a headcanon, because I don't really think it was really hinted at, was that as Fulgore was getting through to Conchime, Conchime was like subconsciously using Shimparuk to like portray Fulgore as being like stronger than he was, which is why he bulked up so much. But then he like kind of does that here. So maybe he's just like a real badass who can I don't know, who can be very muscly when he wants to. I don't know what to tell you. It's a little silly. It's a little crazy. But you know, if you really don't like it, you could just say like it's an artistic choice. Like it's just artistically portraying his strength. You know what I mean? And if you want to be that guy, like I don't really care too much about it. But if that concerns you and you like want to use that argument, like you wouldn't be remiss to do that, because we saw very early on in the series, Kyo, I think after chapter 2, it might have been like chapter 3, looking normal, and then it being shown that he was like actually really injured by the fight, I think in the bank, or it might have been after Raycom and Hosokawa, which would have been like chapter 6 or something. So like Raikou has done that before, where he's like artistically showing something to like be different than it actually would be, like for the pleasure of the reader and for the enjoyment of the reader. So like if you care that much that Fulgore has like doubled his body mass, then like you can use that explanation if you want. So our sorcerer here goes, a human. Is he insane? There's no way he could have the strength to take on this beast reinforced by a Doru. He could never be able to push us back. See, and Fulgore says, he laughs and he goes, this hippo is just too strong for you. Oh, it was after the first conflict he was beat up by Kane. Okay, Kaneyama, yes. Okay, that was what it was. Thank you for remembering. And he says a hippo, it's always at its strongest when it's protecting its children. He throws the beast down on the ground like a real kind of lion tamer. We've seen stuff like this in movies and stuff. This is how they kind of do it. I mean, I've seen people like when people fight lions and in like circuses and in fiction and stuff like that. I think I've seen people do this with lions. And boy, I kind of wished it would continue, but that's the end of the chapter. Conchime is very beat up. He's sort of been bitten into in his head. And Fulgore has thrown the beast down, protecting Conchime for this moment. And that's the end. Yeah, no, Fulgore. Oh, welcome to the stream, Royal Ghost, by the way. 3 people in the chat. Hell yeah. I think it's pretty safe to assume Fulgore is pretty damn strong, considering he got hit several times brutally and is still standing up. Yeah, totally. I mean, he's taken a lot of hits from Zatch and Kyo sometimes during the series. And he was a punk, you know, when he was young. He's probably someone who did train his body quite a bit. Hey, I'm Trollmaster, right from the Discord. All right. Thank you for coming. Appreciate it. I think it's your first time being in the stream, so welcome. We just finished going through the chapter. Not a live reaction, but just a run through and summary with some opinions throughout. Now that I have finished going through the chapter, we can talk about it in a more free-form way. So this chapter was sort of unexpected for me in the way that it was so focused on just like doing these two characters justice and telling a story as an episode that would portray these two characters, fan favorite characters, in the best possible light that they like possibly could be portrayed. Like I can't really imagine that any Zatch Bell fan would have like any real complaint with this chapter or like not like it or like think it was like character assassination or like whatever like that. It like literally just like took everyone's fears from the previous chapters. And this is something Raikou has been quite good at in Zatch Bell too. It took fans' concerns from the previous chapter about Contreme, and maybe some people were concerned about Fulgore, and just like stomped them to shreds. Like it obliterated that. Like completely just obliterated that. Like this was almost like I don't really know. Like I don't really know. It's there was one page of Zatch and Kyo, right? There was a single page of Zatch and Kyo. It was just a single page. And it was this really, cool sort of bait and switch where you first have the idea that Contreme is still this immature, maybe a coward, and you find out that that's not true, and then you find out that Fulgore has realized that his friend is in danger and come to save him. Yeah, the food and coffee. Yeah, that was funny. It was cool that you fixed it. It looked good. Is really incredible. I mean, like everything about it. Like just even from the start, having Fulgore be very emotional about thinking Conchime is back, like is really sort of giving the readers what they want and what maybe some people didn't really get with Zatch and Kyo. And that was kind of what we discussed previously about Raikou kind of hiding Zatch's face when he gets very emotional, and like even like the scene where Zatch jumps on Kyo and hugs him is like sort of muted compared to like what you might expect. Like it is good and they do talk a lot and it is clear their bond is very strong still. That's shown mostly through the fight though, in a way. And everything of like the real emotion and when people would be crying or whatever is like sort of muted. But it's the total opposite with Fulgore and Conchime, where it's just reinforced again and again and again how much these guys kind of love each other. They're friends for life. Fulgore is a father figure, he's a brother figure to Conchime. He's an idol, he's someone who aspired to be. I will say that until Gaiden, the only scene in the main four partnership that made me tear up was Conchime and Fulgore's departure. Yeah. I mean, I don't really remember at this point what made me tear up. I know what made me feel strong emotion, and yes, like you're saying, is how they try to sort of have a nice goodbye, but they know that they will probably never see each other again at that point. And there's a lot of anguish there, a lot of crying. It's very sad. Yeah, it's rough. Because they're, yeah, pretty much all Momotos and partners have special bonds with each other, and Fulgore's and Conchime's was always a really sweet one to read, and to see. And yeah, it was really, really freaking sad. And lucky for us, it was not. They do not never see each other again. They saw each other again right now. And so there's so much of these displays of emotion in this chapter, which like I think is something some fans have really been looking for. We've had displays of emotion before from Zelly, but still like not between the characters that we love and in just the blatant and like intense way that like I don't know what I'm doing here. This looks so dumb. But now I don't want to stop doing it because that's like an admission of defeat. I'm just going to change it slightly. That some fans really wanted, and we got that in this chapter. So like it's like such a good chapter, man. Fulgore saving Consomme, and Consomme showing that he's growing, that he's heroic, and saving his brother. It's very sad. His family might be dead. We don't really know if Raikou really intends to kill anyone completely. But they might be. They were in pretty dire straits there. But yeah, I mean, there's not much you can really say that's bad about this chapter. It is sort of classic Zatch Bell. We got a little fighting in there with Consomme being like a smarter fighter and doing this really cool thing with just the simple Poruk spell. He used it up completely with that. And now Fulgore has saved him. This also made me think if maybe Tio got away too. I kind of don't think so. I think it would be kind of weird if so many people got away. I think we'll see later on a few of the stronger demons that Kyo mentioned, like Acheron and Brago or Xeno, that got away. But I do think that there will be some sort of, the demons that didn't get away. All we need to do to see them again is to use the coffins, the sarcophagus, which would be, I think, as easy as giving the partner the book and having them then bring the book to the sarcophagus. After which there might be maybe some kind of fragment of life, or they would need a memento that was left by the Momoto. I'm not entirely sure how that's going to work. I discussed that, I think, in the last chapter when Apollo was coming to pick the sarcophagi up. I don't really know how that's going to work, but I think if there are Momoto who were killed or otherwise disappeared by the bad guys, that would probably be all that would be needed to bring them into the human world. The page that made me tear up during my first time reading ZB1 was Zatch versus Ryu. The way Kyo just sacrificed himself and thinking about Zatch finding a new partner made me too emotional. Yeah, it's a very selfless thought, is win the battle, And that's a scene I haven't read in a long time. It's a scene I'm not like 100%, like I haven't really had like it memorized or anything. I don't know what I'm waiting for. Like I was doing a manga reread, and the manga goes past that scene, but I stopped my reread around like volume 16. Maybe I'm just waiting for a new anime or a reprint or something. But I would love to read that scene again. It's been a long time. So, as we always do towards the end of these streams, I want to talk about kind of what I expect from next chapter. I want to see Fulgore, Consomme, and Consomme do the Opai dance. Hello. Yeah, I mean, they might. Consomme, Fulgore is such a bad influence, man. These kids. On this baby Consomme. We don't know how old he is. He can talk pretty well. It's older than Olmo, I guess. So Fulgore has thrown Gozer down for now. I think Gozer's going to get right back up. And I think a couple things are going to happen. Basically, one of two things is going to happen. Zatch and Kyo are going to arrive, which I don't know if... I think it's more likely that Fulgore and Consomme's book will arrive. And they'll be able to use some more spells, not a lot of spells, but, maybe they'll be able to use Koparuk and Dika Paruk. And let's remember that the Momoto are able to do new things with their old spells now. We've seen it twice. We've seen that Zatch is able to remote cast Rashield or Rashirudo. And we've seen Consomme is able to make pretty complex, but still 3D physical, not mental illusions with Paruk. So, I mean, who knows what could happen with the other spells, right? If he could shrink Fulgore, right? Oh, God. I hope that guy doesn't get up to anything. What he could do with Dika Paruk. Is it too early for Shimperuk? Yeah, I think so. I think Shimperuk is such a powerful spell. It would be weird to see it because I can't imagine how they would beat it unless they had some weird way of not being, you know. The thing is, like, we know that Shimperuk even works on creatures of like low intelligence who might not like really understand things that well because it worked on Gorm. So it would probably work on Gozer. There's no thing you could say where it's like, oh, she has like a beastly form. She'd go into like a beastly form where she like doesn't know what's going on, and like using that she could be able to like not go under with Shimperuk. Like, I don't really think that would work. So yeah, no, like Zatch Gamer says, I think Shimperuk is going to show up. I don't think. I don't know. I don't know how it's going to be used. Yeah, I mean, like Royal Ghost, you just said, we may very well see some classic Fulgore, Iron Man Fulgore hijinks. We are probably going to see Fulgore get beat up a lot next chapter. And, you know, I think it's more likely that Contrame's book will arrive, fly in. But then I do think Q and Zatch will get there probably before the battles end. Or someone else might arrive. You never know exactly what's going to happen. It could be a human character with a lot of resources or military resources or combat experience or who knows what. Fulgore might have the whole Italian police help out. Fulgore might have the mafia help out. I don't know. I'm also gradually getting more and more convinced, as Gamer says, that Fado may be revived and fight for Hero's side. What about this chapter would have made you more convinced of that? It's a cool theory. I know you've said it before. I remember you saying it. Maybe Contrame can transform into more useful things as he is now. Maybe. The fact that he hasn't done that yet still makes me think that Poruk just isn't. It just can't do that. Like, the spell can't do that no matter how hard he tries. He can't transform into a thing that like creates energy or like does something. Or like has parts that aren't like has separate parts. That's kind of a rule of Poruk, right? That you can't really like transform into something that has like a projectile or something that is like separate from itself. But maybe he could develop another spell that could do that, which he has in the video game. He has Remoto Battles. I forget what that spell is called. So maybe. Right, the big monster. That does make sense. That thing was pretty huge. Yeah, I mean, God, I would love a kaiju battle. In Zatch Bell too. I mean, to see Fado again would be so cool. Fado is such a crazy thing. It's such a crazy thing, and like that's some of the best stuff in the series is just Fado wreaking havoc and running around and shooting mouth lasers and stuff. So that would be cool. Fado was always a happy-go-lucky sort of dude. He'd be willing to help out. Though Raikou did say that Fado was turned into a normal size at some point, didn't he? I mean, they could turn him back. But yeah, I mean, kaiju battles would be pretty great in Zatch Bell too. I mean, you know, I say it every month. There's still no way of knowing how long the series is going to be. This chapter, I think, got to what it got to way quicker than anybody expected. So, I mean, I'm just looking forward to next month now, as always. Zatch Bell 2 has not... the transportation device, that wasn't the same one from Fado that they used in Chapter 1, though, right? That was a separate room, wasn't it? They just said this building belonged to Rio, right? So it was just a building that his people owned. But yeah, no, this chapter did feel like it ended too soon, like Justin says. How many pages was it? It's 37 pages. How long are the other ones? Most of them are kind of about this length. Yeah, most of them are about this long, but I mean, this one just felt like it went by in a flash because it was a combat heavy, pretty combat heavy chapter, and it had some just big emotional moments, 2-page spreads, splash pages. So yeah, it felt like it ended too soon, but it was about as long as the others. But I mean, yeah, God, we gotta wait another month, and then we'll get another chapter. I hope. I'm tempted to talk about the thing that happened on Twitter. I'm tempted to talk about it. Now that I've alluded to it, I'll say like Raikou is aware that that our Discord and Raze and his partner scans exist. He didn't seem to be too happy about it, but he deleted his tweet, and we do what we do out of I don't know why. I'm not taking credit for it, but we have these scans. They're made with love, and it just, if anything, it just made me want to figure out how to buy the chapters for real again, because I gave up before. It was difficult. So I do want to support Raikou, and I know that if there was an official English version, you guys would stop doing the scans, and we'd all, I hope, many of us would start buying the chapters. Yeah, I mean, Justin, Raikou found out about the scans from seeing a picture of it in English, and he said, "Don't put this online, and don't put an English version of the series online. It's a violation of copyright. Please remove the picture." But then he deleted that tweet. Oh, is that what it is? Yeah, please just tell me how, because I tried before and it wasn't easy. But yeah, despite that, for now the scans will keep going. Thanks to Raze and your partners for your work that you do over the course of these entire days. It was really cool to see Jump in the morning, where I read the official release for Jump. And those are some good chapters. One Piece was really crazy. Undead Unluck is killing it right now. Such a good manga right now. Really, some Zatch Bell energy in there, where it's extremely emotional, dramatic, but in a way that doesn't feel too hokey. It really feels like the author is really putting their heart into it. And it's a crazy story with some crazy abilities. Undead Unluck, I'd recommend it. It's anime starting at some point. I'm not sure when. It was announced. It gets really crazy, and it's in the final arc. Thanks for coming, Royal Ghost, Trollmaster. We're about to wrap up. It's 11:05 p.m. for me, so we're about to wrap up. And that was the chapter for this month. Really fabulous chapter. It really felt like an anime episode. It was so focused, so intense. I could almost say cinematic in some way. Probably the best, kind of most forceful chapter since Zatch's revival. Fragments of Life was what I call the chapter. And I haven't come up with chapter names for some of these later chapters, so I can do that on Discord. So it was great to have 3 people in the chat. Thank you guys for coming. I hope we can get more people from everywhere. I haven't done this before, but Zatch Bell Makai is the Discord where I'm a mod, where Raze is the admin, where the chapter pages are posted as they are scanned. And there's a lot of great Zatch Bell discussion there, a lot of great people there from many different countries, just really cool. So I can maybe put a link to an invite to that in the description, just because I guess I wouldn't really be making this video if it didn't exist. And we only have one person in the chat who's not in the server, but this is also for people who may watch this video in the future. And I think there are some people who watch and, they don't comment. If you do want to join, I can put a link in the description. It's a great server. A lot of Zatch Bell fans. I recommend it. You can talk about Zatch Bell 2 in not in a live stream chat with 2 other people in it. So, and one guy who's talking to you nonstop. So thank you. It's nice to see that you're well too, Justin, I suppose. And I can't wait for next month. Yeah, the thank you Zatch game, right? I think, I think about that sometimes too. It's been a crazy journey with this server. Really has, man. I mean, especially like, and I don't want to sound like I'm taking credit for it because I'm not at all. The work you've done for this fandom has really been incredible. But to see the recognition that you're getting from these people and the love and like adoration and like idolization, whatever you want to call it, has really been incredible, because there was a time when I always had faith, that there was there were people out there that were left to be gathered on Discord. And that there were people out there that would appreciate you and your work. But I think there was a time where it wasn't as clear as it is now, for you, at least. And I mean, now it's super clear. So it's been that's really been incredible to see over these past couple of years. It's crazy that it's even been that long since the first server. I don't remember when the first server was made. Maybe closer to 3 years. That's been crazy. I mean, now we're just continue to grow every month with people coming in. No, not clear like clear. No. There's no. The first server may have been annihilated in some way, and this is now the second server that we're on. But that's the only thing that resembles clear now. So yeah, I mean, who knows what the future holds? The exhibit was a smashing success for Toei Animation and Raikou. Who knows what the future holds? There's been merchandise. That's all I'm going to say. So thanks for watching. I'll see you next month. If we get mic issues, I'm going right to the earbud mic right here. Not bothering with this expensive, but it's somewhat useless other mic. And we're going to have fun talking about the next chapter. So thanks for watching. Hope y'all have a good night. See you next time.